The moment Marcus Williams grabbed the little girl's arm, he knew his life was about to change. He just didn't know it would cost him everything. It happens in 3 seconds. The child, maybe 7 years old, wearing a pink dress with ribbons in her hair, steps off the curb. Marcus sees the delivery truck barreling down the private driveway, the driver distracted, looking down at his phone. The girl doesn't see it. She's laughing, chasing a butterfly through the manicured gardens of the Sterling estate. Marcus doesn't think. His body moves before his mind catches up. He lunges forward, his hand closing around her small wrist, yanking her backward with just enough force. The truck roars past, so close that the wind from it pulls at her dress. She stumbles into his chest, confused, then startled. Then she begins to cry. And that's when everything goes wrong. Hey, thanks for the interest on the story. Kindly subscribe to the channel, then tell us where you are watching from and the time. Let's continue. Victoria Sterling appears from nowhere, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble driveway. She is tall, elegant, dressed in a white suit that probably costs more than Marcus makes in 6 months. Her face is a mask of rage. "Get your hands off my daughter." Her voice is ice and venom. Marcus releases the girl immediately, stepping back with his hands raised. But the damage is done. The little girl, Lily, runs to her mother, sobbing. Victoria wraps her arms around her, glaring at Marcus with an intensity that makes his stomach drop. "Mom, I saw what you did." Victoria's voice cuts through his explanation like a blade. "You grabbed her."
You hurt her. There was a truck. I don't care." She turns to the driver, who has finally stopped, oblivious to what nearly happened. "Call Mr. Sterling. Tell him there's been an incident." Marcus tries again. "Mrs. Sterling, please. She was about to step in front of that truck. I had to—" But Victoria isn't listening. She's examining Lily's wrist where Marcus's fingers left faint red marks. They'll fade in minutes. But to Victoria, they might as well be bruises. She pulls out her phone, snapping photos, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You put your hands on my child. I saved her life." The words hang in the air between them, heavy and useless. Victoria doesn't believe him, or maybe she doesn't want to. In her world, people like Marcus, security guards, hired help, invisible workers, don't touch people like Lily. Not for any reason.
Richard Sterling built his empire from nothing. That's the story everyone knows. Poor kid from Detroit, scholarship to MIT, first tech startup at 23. By 30, he was a billionaire. By 40, he was one of the richest men in America. The Sterling estate sprawls across 200 acres in Connecticut. There are 17 bedrooms, a private lake, a helipad, and a security team of 12. Marcus has worked there for 4 years. He knows every inch of the property, every blind spot, every potential threat. He takes his job seriously because he knows what it's like to have nothing. Richard Sterling is not a bad man, but he's a busy man. He spends most of his time in Manhattan, running Sterling Tech, making deals, appearing on magazine covers. He sees Lily on weekends sometimes. He loves her. Marcus has no doubt about that, but he loves her the way wealthy men love their children, from a distance, through gifts and trust funds and private schools. Victoria manages the household. She manages everything, actually. The staff, the schedules, the image. She is obsessed with appearances, with control. Marcus has seen her fire a maid for using the wrong polish on the silverware. He's seen her berate the chef for preparing salmon instead of sea bass. Nothing is ever good enough. Nothing is ever perfect enough. When Richard arrives that evening, Marcus is waiting in the security office. He's been ordered to stay there, not to leave, not to speak to anyone. He sits in the small, windowless room, replaying the moment over and over. The truck, the girl, the red marks on her wrist. He tells himself he did the right thing, and he tells himself Richard will understand. He's wrong. Richard Sterling enters the security office with Victoria beside him. He doesn't sit down. He doesn't ask for Marcus's side of the story. He just stands there, tall and imposing in his tailored suit, his face hard. "I've seen the photos," Richard says. His voice is calm, controlled, dangerous. "My wife says you grabbed my daughter. Sir, there was a truck. I don't want excuses." Richard's eyes are cold. "You left marks on her. She's terrified." Marcus's heart sinks. "I would never hurt her, sir. I was trying to... I've built everything I have by trusting my instincts about people." Richard cuts him off, his tone final. "And my instinct tells me you crossed a line. You don't touch my daughter, ever." "Mr. Sterling, please, just check the security footage."
It'll show. The footage shows you grabbing her." Victoria's voice is sharp, triumphant. It shows her crying because she was scared by the truck. But Marcus can see it's useless. Victoria has already shaped the narrative. And Richard is too proud, too protective, too unwilling to admit he might be wrong. In his world, decisions are made quickly, decisively. Hesitation is weakness. Doubt is failure. "You're fired," Richard says. "Security will escort you off the property. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. Don't contact us again. Don't come near my family." Marcus feels the floor drop from beneath him. 4 years. 4 years of loyalty, of dedication, of taking his job seriously, gone in an instant. "Sir, we're done here." Richard turns and walks out. Victoria lingers for a moment, her expression satisfied. She's won.
Well, Marcus is a problem, and now he's been eliminated. As she leaves, she doesn't even bother closing the door behind her. 2 security guards, colleagues Marcus has worked with for years, enter the room. They won't meet his eyes. One of them hands him a box for his belongings. The other waits by the door. Marcus packs in silence. A photo of his daughter, a coffee mug, a jacket. It all fits in a small cardboard box. 4 years condensed into a few objects. As they escort him through the main house toward the exit, Marcus passes through the grand foyer. He glances up at the massive portrait of the Sterling family, Richard, Victoria, and Lily, all smiling, all perfect. He thinks about that little girl, about the truck that almost hit her, about the life he saved, and he walks out into the night, unemployed, humiliated, and utterly alone. But Marcus doesn't find another job right away. Security work requires references, and the Sterling name carries weight. When potential employers call his previous position, they hear vague answers, carefully worded rejections. Not a good fit. Issues with judgment. The message is clear. Stay away from Marcus Williams. He burns through his savings in 3 months. The rent on his small apartment in New Haven becomes impossible. He starts taking odd jobs, construction, delivery driving, anything to keep the lights on. His daughter, Emma, is 9 years old and lives with her mother in Boston. He sends what he can, but it's never enough. The shame eats at him. At night, he lies awake, replaying that moment. The truck, the girl, the red marks. He should have let it happen. He should have looked away, pretended not to see.
It's a terrible thought, a thought that makes him sick, but it circles in his mind anyway. What's the point of doing the right thing if it destroys you? Meanwhile, on the Sterling estate, things begin to change. Lily Sterling stops sleeping. She wakes up screaming night after night, tangled in her sheets. Victoria calls it nightmares. She hires a child psychologist who prescribes therapy and breathing exercises, but nothing helps. Lily won't go near the driveway anymore. She refuses to play in the gardens. When Victoria tries to take her outside, she clings to the doorframe, sobbing, begging to stay inside. She draws pictures in her therapy sessions, dark, violent scribbles of trucks and crashes, and a figure pulling her backward. She's processing trauma, the psychologist tells Victoria. Something frightened her. Oh, have you asked her what happened? But Victoria doesn't ask. She can't. Because asking means admitting she might have been wrong. It's Richard who finally breaks. 6 months after Marcus was fired, Richard comes home early one Friday afternoon. He finds Lily sitting in the library, staring out the window at the driveway. She's holding a small toy, a plastic security badge she must have found somewhere. Lily. Richard sits beside her, something he rarely does. What are you looking at? She doesn't answer at first, then quietly. Where did he go? Who? The man? The one who saved me? Richard's chest tightens. What do you mean? Lily turns to him, her eyes wide and serious. From the truck. The man grabbed me before the truck hit me. Where did he go? The room tilts. Richard feels a cold rush of realization, of dread. Lily! What truck? The big one. It almost hit me. But the man pulled me back. Mommy said he hurt me, but he didn't. He saved me. Richard can barely breathe. Are you sure? Lily nods. I was scared. That's why I was crying. Because of the truck. Not because of him. For a long moment, Richard just sits there, the weight of what he's done crashing down on him. He thinks of Marcus's face, the desperation in his voice. Just check the security footage. But Richard never did. He trusted Victoria. He trusted his own instincts. He was wrong. That night, after Lily is asleep, Richard goes to the security office. He finds the footage from that day, 6 months old, archived, but still accessible. He watches the clip 3 times, the truck, the distracted driver, Lily stepping off the curb, Marcus lunging forward, grabbing her, pulling her back.
The truck roaring past, inches from where she was standing. Lily stumbling into Marcus, startled and crying. Marcus stepping back immediately, hands raised. Richard sits in the dark, the glow of the monitor casting shadows on his face. He sees it all now, the truth he was too proud to look for. He ruined an innocent man's life. Finding Marcus takes time. Richard doesn't tell Victoria what he's doing. He hires a private investigator who tracks Marcus to a rundown apartment building in Bridgeport. The man who once protected his family now works as a night shift janitor at a grocery store. When Richard finally sees him, the change is staggering. Marcus looks thinner, older, worn down. He's mopping the floor in an empty aisle at 2 a.m, headphones in, unaware he's being watched. Richard approaches slowly. But when Marcus looks up and sees him, the mop clatters to the floor. Mr. Sterling? Marcus! Richard's voice is thick. I need to talk to you. Marcus stares at him, disbelief and anger warring on his face. You had me escorted off your property. You destroyed my career. What could you possibly need to talk about? I was wrong. The words feel inadequate, pathetic, but they're all Richard has. I watched the footage, Richard continues. I talked to my daughter. You saved her life, and I destroyed yours. Marcus says nothing. His jaw tightens, his hands clenching into fists. Richard can see the rage, the pain, the months of suffering etched into every line of his face. I'm sorry, Richard says. I know that's not enough. I know I can never undo what I did, but I'm here to make it right.
Tell me what you need. Marcus laughs, a bitter, hollow sound. What I need? I needed you to believe me 6 months ago. I needed you to check the damn footage before you ruined my life. I needed you to listen. I know. Do you? Marcus steps forward, his voice rising. Do you have any idea what you did? I lost everything, my job, my reputation, my savings. I can barely afford to see my daughter. I eat ramen for dinner because that's all I can afford. And you show up here with an apology? Richard takes it. He deserves every word. I can't change the past, Richard says quietly. But I can change the future. Please, let me try. Marcus doesn't forgive Richard, not right away. Forgiveness isn't something you can buy with money or power, but he listens. Richard offers him his job back. Marcus refuses.
I don't want to work for you. So Richard offers something else. A full-time position as head of security for Sterling Tech's Manhattan office. Double the salary, full benefits, a signing bonus to cover the 6 months Marcus lost. It's not charity, Richard makes that clear. You're the best at what you do. I was a fool to let you go. Marcus thinks about it for a week. He talks to Emma, who's excited that her dad might finally be able to visit more often. He talks to himself, weighing pride against practicality. In the end, he accepts, not because he's forgiven Richard, but because he needs to move forward. The transition is slow. Marcus moves to New York, finds a decent apartment, starts his new job. The work is demanding but fair. He builds a team, implements new protocols, earns respect. Slowly, and the weight on his shoulders begins to lift. But the real change happens at the Sterling estate. Richard sits down with Victoria one evening and tells her everything. The footage, Lily's confession, the truth Victoria refused to see. You lied to me, Richard says. His voice is calm, but the fury underneath is unmistakable. You manipulated me into firing a man who saved our daughter's life. Victoria tries to defend herself, to justify her actions. But there's no defense for what she did. She saw what she wanted to see. She made a mistake and doubled down on it, too proud to admit she was wrong. Richard doesn't divorce her, not immediately, but something between them breaks, a trust that can never be fully repaired. He spends more time in the city. He becomes more involved in Lily's life, actually present instead of just providing. And he begins to see the world differently, not as a place where his decisions are always right, but as a place where mistakes have consequences, and humility matters more than pride. A year after Marcus returns to work, Richard invites him to the estate for dinner. It's a small gathering, just Richard, Lily, and Marcus. Victoria is conspicuously absent. Lily runs to Marcus the moment she sees him. You came back. Marcus kneels down, smiling. I did. I told Daddy what happened. I told him you saved me. I know. Marcus glances at Richard. You were very brave. They eat together. Simple food, simple conversation. Lily talks about school, about her friends, about the new puppy Richard bought her. She's happier now, lighter. The nightmares have stopped. After dinner, Richard walks Marcus to his car. Thank you, Richard says.
For giving me a second chance. Marcus looks at him for a long moment. I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. And for my daughter. I know. But, Marcus pauses, I hope you learned something from this. I did. Richard's voice is heavy with regret. I learned that power doesn't make you right. Money doesn't make you infallible. And the people you dismiss, the ones you think don't matter, they're often the ones who matter most. Marcus nods. I hope you remember that. I will. As Marcus drives away, Richard stands in the driveway watching the taillights disappear into the night. He thinks about the man he was a year ago, arrogant, certain, blind. He thinks about the man he is now, humbled, wiser, forever marked by his mistake. He can't undo the past. He can't erase the months Marcus suffered. But he can do better.
He can be better. And for the first time in a long time, Richard Sterling understands what real wealth looks like. It's not money or power or control. It's knowing when you're wrong and having the courage to make it right. Inside the house, Lily draws a picture at the kitchen table. It's simple, 3 stick figures standing together, smiling. She labels them carefully. Daddy, me, and Marcus. She doesn't include Victoria. Some people, she's learning, save you. And some people just stand by and watch. The difference matters. Word spreads quietly through Sterling Tech. The CEO brought back a security guard he wrongfully fired. He admitted a mistake. He made amends. It's a small story, barely a blip in the corporate world, but it changes something fundamental. Employees start to believe that honesty matters. And that integrity isn't just a buzzword in the company handbook, that even the most powerful person in the building can be wrong and can make it right. Marcus becomes something of a legend, the man who stood up, who got knocked down, who got back up again. He doesn't seek attention, he just does his job, leads his team, and goes home to his daughter on weekends. But people notice, they respect him, they know his story. Richard changes too. He institutes new policies, anonymous reporting systems, third-party investigations for any allegations against employees, mandatory reviews of disciplinary actions. He personally apologizes to 3 other employees who were unfairly terminated over the years, offering them compensation and reinstatement if they want it. Not all of them accept. Some wounds run too deep. But Richard tries anyway, or because that's what accountability looks like. Victoria eventually moves out. The separation is quiet, handled by expensive lawyers and non-disclosure agreements. She takes a settlement and disappears from public life, her image-obsessed world crumbling around her. Lily stays with Richard. She asks about her mother sometimes, but not often. Children have a way of knowing who really sees them. 3 years after the incident, Marcus receives an unexpected package. Inside is a letter and a check. The letter is from Richard. Marcus, I've spent the last 3 years trying to become a man worthy of the second chance you gave me. I don't know if I've succeeded, but I want you to know that what you did for Lily, for me, for yourself, changed my life. I'm setting up a foundation in your name, like the Marcus Williams Foundation for wrongfully terminated workers. It will provide legal assistance, financial support, and advocacy for employees who lose their jobs unjustly. I hope it helps others the way I couldn't help you. The enclosed check is not payment, it's a gift for Emma's education, for your future, for whatever you choose. You've earned it, not through your job, but through your character. Thank you for teaching me what strength really looks like. Richard Marcus stares at the check. It's for $500,000. He doesn't cash it immediately. He sits with it, thinking about the past 3 years, about the man who fired him and the man who's trying to atone, about forgiveness and pride and the strange, complicated paths that lead people back to each other. Eventually, he calls Richard. I got your letter. I meant every word. I know. Marcus pauses. The foundation is a good idea. I'd like to help run it, if you'll have me. Richard's voice cracks. I'd be honored. They work together now in a different capacity. Marcus still leads security, but he also sits on the foundation's board, helping guide its mission, ensuring it actually helps the people it's meant to serve. They're not friends, not exactly, but they're something more complicated and more valuable. They're 2 men who learned hard lessons and chose to use them for good. On Lily's 12th birthday, she asks to visit Marcus at his office. Richard drives her there, and they find Marcus at his desk, reviewing security protocols. "Mr. Williams," Lily runs to him and he stands to greet her. "Happy birthday, Lily." She hands him a wrapped box. I made you something." Inside is a framed picture, the one she drew years ago, the stick figures labeled Daddy, me, and Marcus. But she's added something new. At the bottom, in careful handwriting, it says, "The people who save us are the people who see us." Marcus stares at it, his throat tight. "Thank you, Lily." "I wanted you to know," she says seriously, "that I remember. I'll always remember." Richard watches them, his daughter, and the man who saved her, and he feels the weight of his mistake one more time. But this time it's different. This time it's a weight he's learned to carry, not as a burden, but as a reminder. Pride can destroy you, but humility can rebuild you. And sometimes the person you hurt becomes the person who teaches you what it means to be human. That night, as Richard tucks Lily into bed, she asks him a question. "Daddy, do you think people can really change?" Richard thinks about the man he was 3 years ago, the man who fired Marcus without a second thought, the man who valued appearances over truth. "Yes," he says, "but only if they want to." "Do you want to?" "Every day." Lily smiles. "Good." She falls asleep quickly, safe and loved. And Richard sits beside her for a while, watching her breathe, grateful for the second chance he didn't deserve, but received anyway. In the morning, Marcus will go to work. Richard will go to work. Lily will go to school. The world will keep turning, indifferent to the small, quiet revolution that happened in one man's heart. But that revolution matters, because every act of humility, every admission of fault, every attempt to make amends, it ripples outward. It changes the people who witness it. It builds a better world, one uncomfortable truth at a time. And somewhere in Connecticut, in a grand estate with 17 bedrooms and 200 acres, a little girl sleeps peacefully, knowing that the people who matter aren't the ones with the most money or the most power. They're the ones who show up, the ones who see danger and run toward it, the ones who do the right thing, even when it costs them everything. They're the ones like Marcus Williams. And they're the reason the rest of us still have hope.